Hello, friends. Welcome to Pieces Here, the daily series exploring the architects of enough. Today we conclude our theme, Stewards of the Earth, by diving into the life of Charles Darwin. In a life devoted to quiet observation and long walks, he taught us that deep change begins with close attention. Architect of Enough. Born in 1809 into a wealthy English family, Darwin was expected to pursue a conventional career, but instead, a 5-year voyage aboard the HMS Beagle redirected the course of his life and modern science. During the voyage, Darwin collected thousands of specimens, kept detailed notebooks, and began noticing patterns in the natural world. His time in the Galapagos Islands prompted questions about variation among species, questions that later shaped his theory of natural selection. But Darwin did not rush to publish. For over 20 years after the voyage, he quietly gathered evidence, conducted experiments in his garden, and corresponded with scientists across Europe. He only agreed to co-publish his findings after learning that Alfred Russel Wallace had independently developed a similar theory. His On the Origin of Species followed in 1859. He was an abolitionist who condemned slavery, yet later work, The Descent of Man, contained hierarchies and language that reflected the deeply damaging racial biases of his time. Despite this historical complexity, Darwin's methodology was a masterclass in the simplicity of profound observation. He lived simply, worked from home, and prioritized daily walks, often along a path known as the Sandwalk behind his house in Kent. His approach to life was grounded in observation, long-form thought, and rigorous attention to detail. Though not known as a peace activist, Darwin's personal habits reflected humility and restraint. He quietly declined public debate, rejected cruelty to animals, and his work revealed deep interconnection of all living beings and our shared evolutionary story. If you're looking for a thoughtful resource, I recommend Darwin, A Life in Science by John Gribbin and Michael White, a clear and respectful biography that avoids sensationalism. The Enough Reflection. Take a walk before you take a stand. Charles Darwin's long walks were not just good for his health, they were part of his thinking process. Before drawing conclusions, he gave himself time to observe. If you're wrestling with a purchase, a decision, or a disagreement, try walking first. Let your body move while your thoughts settle. This reminds me of one of the tips from Peace Stuff Enough, the new companion book to One More Year. You can find it and follow the Kickstarter at avaskolfsbeck.com. Pedro says, Charles Darwin was not the first to propose evolution, but he was the first to explain how it might work through natural selection. That's the part that changed everything. What small practice in your life helps you slow down enough to see clearly? A daily walk? Quiet time in the garden? Something else? Ask yourself, or perhaps write in your journal, before I leap to action or judgment, I will... Words to keep. In one of Darwin's most often quoted lines from The Descent of Man, 1871, he wrote, "The love for all living creatures is the most noble attribute of man." It's a sentiment that may challenge the assumption that science and compassion are separate. For Darwin, to study life was to see its interdependence. If this daily message has brought you peace, please take a moment to subscribe and share this episode with someone who needs it. That was the life and wisdom of our architect of enough for this episode. If their story has inspired you to seek your own path to less consumption and more contentment, then please step off the treadmill with me. Let's learn from the architects of enough and discover together that for our planet, for our community, and for ourselves, Peace is here. To follow my work, including the new book, Peace Stuff Enough, the entire Pedro the Water Dog Saves the Planet series, and the podcast archive, visit aviskalfsbeck.com. That's also where you can find the link to my current Kickstarter. Our music is Dalai Lama Riding a Bike by the talented Javier Peque Rodriguez. You can find links to his music on Spotify and Bandcamp in the show notes. Thank you again. Listen for the peace.